Hello people, I'm the Comic Gamer. Today I'm going to be reviewing Wonder Woman. This is no spoilers. I won't be spoiling anything. If you guys want me to, I might do a spoiler review later, but this is the no spoiler review. Sorry this review is so late. I didn't get to see it till Saturday, but anyways, that being said, I'm just gonna kind of go through a list of pros and cons. First off, I'll say before I get into any of that, the movie's good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's my second favorite DCEU movie, which isn't saying much because as far as the DCEU movies go, I love Man of Steel, I hate Batman v Superman, and I hate Suicide Squad, but this movie's pretty good. I like it. It's not as good as Man of Steel to me, but I do like it. It's a good movie. So yeah, so let's start off with the pros, starting off with the fact that Chris Pine is my favorite part of this movie. His Steve Trevor was great, and he's definitely the acting heavyweight in this movie because there are some parts where some people fall short on their acting ability, but Chris Pine is great, and he plays his version of Steve Trevor perfectly, and I love Steve Trevor in this movie. He's my favorite character in the whole movie. He was great, and he does pretty much everything he's supposed to do. I really like the character of Diana. They did a good job of showing her her sort of character arc in this movie, as in she starts off sort of as a little naive, and the fact that all men are good, they're just corrupted by other stuff and stuff like that. And she sort of goes through a character arc that I like seeing, and I like seeing how Diana is, and just that she's a genuinely good person, especially when she's surrounded by all these Amazons that are we shouldn't mess with the outside world at all, and she's like, what? Weren't we put here on this earth to help protect men? Why are we just hiding? I liked Diana. She was a really cool character, and I really liked her character. And then which is again key to a superhero movie when you have stuff like Suicide Squad, where I didn't like a single character. I like Captain Boomerang, but he wasn't a central character, so it's key when a movie can get you to like their central characters, and in this I did like Diana and Steve Trevor. They're both great, and they had good chemistry together as well. Themyscira is really cool. I liked everything on Themyscira. We're not there for really long, but for the time we do spend there, it's pretty cool. I liked it. I thought so far DC's nailed that type of stuff, and their movies, I loved Krypton and Man of Steel, and I really like Themyscira and Wonder Woman. They've nailed that sort of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. The fights are a mixed bag for me. The fight that happens on the battlefield that you see in the trailer, where she's blocking all the bullets in the middle of the battlefield with her shield, that fight is the best fight in the entire movie. The best action sequence to me. It's really cool. Although it is a god versus normal people, so it's not that cool, because it's Wonder Woman who can take on people way more powerful than that, but she's just taking on a bunch of normal soldiers, but still it is cool looking. And I like the fight, but yeah, I'll get into some more of my complaints with the fights later. But that fight is really cool, and there's one particular scene that happens during that whole sequence, because it starts at the trenches and then moves into a town. There's one part where it's full speed, and you see Wonder Woman move you see Chris Pine moving like a normal person, then you see Wonder Woman moving so much faster than Chris Pine. They have it's sort of like the Avengers fight scene where Thor and Captain America are back to back, and they're throwing their shields and their hammer and stuff. It's sort of like that, except it's not in slow-mo, and it's Wonder Woman and Chris Pine back to back. It's Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor back to back, and it's so cool because you're seeing Wonder Woman move 5 times faster than Steve Trevor, even though he's moving at his full speed. It's pretty cool. My only problem with it was the CGI on her was a little rough there, but I appreciate the idea there. It's it's showing how much faster Wonder Woman is than everyone else and a normal man. So I like seeing that. That part was pretty cool. The story, I won't really say anything about it, but the story was pretty interesting. I liked it. They have a twist in it and stuff, and it's I like the story. The tone was great. They nailed that perfect balance of here's jokes, here's normal people humor. This is pretty good. Stuff is getting serious. Don't crack a joke here and break all the tension. They nailed the whole tone. I loved it. The tone was great. And I'm not someone who had a problem with the serious tones of Batman v Superman or Man of Steel. I did have a problem with Suicide Squad's tone of, hey, all the critics complained about no humor. Let's just give them constant garbage humor. Here you go. There's just I hated Suicide Squad's tone, where it was just constant humor because the critics, that's what they want. They complained about no humor before, so we'll just give them constant humor. I hated that. But Man of Steel, Batman Superman's tone, I had no problem with. The complete seriousness, I was fine with that. But this tone, that being said, I love this tone as well. It's strikes the perfect balance between being serious when it needs to be serious and having levity and humor when it can. I really like the tone. It was great. There is a great scene between Steve and Wonder Woman towards the end talking about humanity that I really enjoyed, and it was one of those scenes that you don't get in your typical superhero movie. It actually had some emotion and heart to it, and I really liked it, and it was just very well executed. The dialogue was good. Now that's it for the pros. Again, I do like this movie. I think it's a good movie because I know some people, whenever I do like a pros and cons of a movie, they'll focus on the cons and be like, you absolutely hated this movie, you think it sucked. No, I just can't, just something I like, I can't just say it's perfect. If there's problems with it, I'll point out the problems. So yeah, let's get into the cons. So one of the cons is actually in that scene that I was talking about between Steve and Wonder Woman, which is if Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, however you say it, I'm going to call her Gal Gadot because I think that's how she pronounced it when I heard her like say it before. Anyways, if she was a better actress, she could have elevated that scene so much because Chris Pine nailed it. Like, he was perfect in that scene. Gal Gadot like struggled a bit. Like, she wasn't bad. Like, throughout the movie, she's good. She's just not great. She doesn't like bring anything extra to the role. She doesn't like own it like other people have owned the role. It's not like instantly like you see her and it's like, okay, I don't want anyone else playing Wonder Woman. It's like, she's good, but I could see so many other people replacing her and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Like, she's not great, but she's good, and she does struggle at some scenes where she has to have like some emotion and stuff. It's just like, that's just not, nope, she didn't really nail that. Like, there's some scenes where like she could have really elevated it, like that scene right there that I was talking about between Steve and Diana, and take it to the next level, but instead she's not that great of an actress, so she doesn't really bring it up to where it's like, oh man, this scene is absolutely amazing. Instead, it's just like, oh man, it's a really good scene. It's just, she really got outshined by Chris Pine there. Like, she just didn't have the acting chops. Hopefully she gets better as she goes on, because I know she hasn't had that big of an acting career so far, and I was like, before this movie, very worried about her carrying her own movie because she's not that great of an actress to me, but she did good, just nothing great, and she did struggle at some parts. Another con I have with this movie is too much slow-mo. Way too much. If you think Zack Snyder has used too much slow-mo, dear God, watch this movie. Like, at first, it's like, okay, that's kind of cool, and then it just keeps going. Like, every single action sequence has to have, like, 5 sequences of slow-mo. It's like, why? I get it. You want to show how much faster Wonder Woman is compared to everyone else, but you don't have to slow-mo every time. Do like they did for Faora and Man of Steel. We saw how fast she was. That was awesome. That was full-time speed. Like, that really showed how fast she was. But instead, it's just slow-mo, and it's like, dear God, how many slow-mo scenes are we going to have? Like, there is so much slow-mo. Like, so much, just way too much. I'm fine with like slow-mo isn't something I complain about in a movie generally, but when there's this much, yeah, I'm gonna complain about it. There's just way too much. Like, you get sick of it by like the 10th time they use it. It's just like, okay, cool down on the slow-mo, please. The villain also sucks. It's another generic, like, whatever villain, throwaway villain, like we've gotten in most superhero movies. I'd say the last villain that I got that like I really like, well, I didn't like love, but I thought was good, was Francis in Deadpool. I liked Francis in Deadpool. I thought he was good. I wouldn't say he's a great villain, but he was good, and I liked him. To where the villain in this, he's just whatever and a throwaway villain. There is also some terrible CGI. Speaking of the villain, there's some terrible CGI in this movie. I don't know how, like, it happened, because this is a big superhero movie, like big budget movie. Like, I don't know why they didn't delay it a bit more, because there's some parts in this movie where the CGI is just, whew, it's a little rough. Like, I was surprised. There's one scene in particular on Themyscira where like where Hippolyta like comes off her horse and like kills 2 dudes, and it just looked so bad. But then there's some other scenes, like at the end, they have a big like CGI fight. And I'm not someone who's like, oh, I hate big CGI fest fights. No, as long as the CGI looks good, I'm fine. Because I understand that, like, you're not going to have these godlike people fighting without CGI. I'm not someone like, do it practical. No, that'd look retarded. Just have the CGI polished, like the Man of Steel fights. Like, that's all CGI, but it looks good. Like, have it polished. I'm fine with it being CGI. I just want polished CGI. I don't want this, like, really bad looking CGI, which not throughout the entire movie. I'd just say, like, there's some scenes where the CGI looks bad. It's not like every single CGI scene is like, oh, it looks awful. No, just there are just some scenes where it's like, man, that like just takes you out of the movie. There's also like a scene where it's actually like on YouTube where she's training that sort of took me out of it a bit. Like, you can tell it's not Gal Gadot. It looks like they tried to CGI Gal Gadot's face onto like her stunt woman. Like, I'll show like a screen cap, but it's hard to tell there because the quality's so bad on YouTube. But in the theater, I saw that and I was like, that doesn't look like Gal Gadot at all. Like, I don't know why they chose that camera angle and they tried to like CGI her face on it, but it was like crap CGI. Like, it just kind of took me out a bit. There was only one scene of it, but like that happened, and I know that's just a small little nitpick, but still, like, it happened, and I was like, why is it so glaringly obvious? Because stuff like that happens on like Arrow all the time, where it's like, yeah, that's that person's stunt woman. I could tell that's not Black Canary, that's just someone or whatever. Like, stuff like that happens on Arrow all the time, but I wouldn't expect it in Wonder Woman, like the big budget superhero movie. I was like, that just seemed like an odd choice. Her crew, that's like sort of like the discount Howling Commando, kind of suck. Like, especially Chief. Chief is a terrible actor. Whoever played Chief in the movie was awful. Like, I can't even remember the name of anyone in her crew besides Chief. And that's just because, like, he had such a simple name. Like, the dude with the fez, I liked him. Like, the actor did a good job, but his character I didn't really care about at all. But as far as the actor, like, he did a good job. But, like, everyone in the crew I didn't care about at all. I didn't bother to really remember any other names. And Chief was just an absolutely god-awful actor. The soundtrack, this isn't, like, a knock against the movie or for the movie. It's just, like, in the middle. It's just the soundtrack was generic, which I was hoping they would sort of break, because that's every Marvel movie is generic, so like as far as their soundtrack goes. So I was hoping that like DC would try to break that, because Man of Steel and Batman v Superman both had great soundtracks. Granted, they had Hans Zimmer and like Junkie XL helping with that, but this movie soundtrack, besides the Wonder Woman theme that like Hans Zimmer made, at least I believe it was Hans Zimmer, it was him or Junkie XL, I'm pretty sure it was Hans Zimmer, but anyways, yeah, the Wonder Woman theme for Batman v Superman, I love it. They use it in this, it's great. But besides that track, everything else feels really generic. It doesn't add to any scene. But again, that's not a knock against the movie. It's just not one for the movie. It's just like it's something that could have elevated the movie but didn't. And yeah, that's like all that I have to say about the movie. That's like all the pros and cons. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. I feel like it's being severely overblown by everyone that I'm seeing. Like, I see a lot of people going, "It's amazing, it's so great, it's like one of the best superhero movies ever." I wouldn't say that at all. Maybe take time for people to cool off or something. I feel like it's being overblown because it's like two things. It's the first good female superhero movie, and it's the first like DCEU movie that like critics and fans alike enjoy. So I feel like those are two reasons why it's being severely overblown, because it's not a great movie. It's a good movie. I would say, as far as superhero movies that I've seen this year, Logan's #1 for me, then Wonder Woman #2, then Guardians #3. I'd say it's better than Guardians 2, but I didn't really care for Guardians 2, so that's just me. But anyways, please let me know in the comments below if you've seen Wonder Woman, what'd you think of it, and how would you rate it as far as superhero movies go this year. And if you're watching this from the future, Spider-Man Homecoming and Justice League aren't out yet, so that's why I didn't rate those along with it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.